The morning sun filtered softly through the window, casting long shadows across the teenager's messy bedroom. Jay stared blankly at his palms as tiny, erratic sparks of blue electricity began to dance across his skin. A heavy sensation settled deep within his chest, making him realize that the violent dreams of angels were not mere figments of his imagination. Walking into the kitchen, the familiar scent of breakfast did little to calm the strange vibration humming through his muscles. His father stood by the stove, completely unaware of the supernatural changes taking root inside his son. The older man turned around with a warm smile, reminding the boy that today marked his 19th birthday. Grabbing his school bag, Jay rushed out the front door into the crisp morning air to avoid being late for his classes. As he picked up his pace, he noticed that his boots barely seemed to touch the concrete below. Deciding to cut through a narrow brick alleyway, he suddenly collided heavily with a massive, imposing figure. The impact sent the large man crashing directly through the unstable concrete wall behind him. Jay stood frozen in shock, looking down at his own hands and wondering how a simple collision could cause such immense destruction. A second hefty man stepped forward from the shadows, cracking his knuckles with a menacing grin on his face. The boy tried to apologize and hand over some cash, desperately wanting to defuse the escalating violence. Suddenly, a brilliant beacon of pure white light descended from the heavens, blinding everyone present. Out from the radiant energy stepped a striking girl with massive, immaculate white wings spanning behind her back. She introduced herself as his guardian angel, declaring that malicious mortals would not be allowed to harm him. In a blur of supernatural speed, she leapt into the air and landed directly behind the aggressive thugs. After clearing the threat, the angel turned to the bewildered boy and adjusted her appearance to look like an ordinary student. She whispered that the ancient war of Valhalla was spilling over, and his true power would soon be required. Later that morning, the classroom fell into a hush as the teacher introduced a beautiful new transfer student. Park walked down the aisle with absolute grace, choosing a seat directly next to Jay's desk. Throughout the entire lesson, Jay could feel the hidden gaze of celestial entities watching his every move from the sky. He knew that the peaceful days of being an ordinary teenager were slipping away forever. When the final bell rang, the sky outside darkened unexpectedly, taking on an ominous purple hue. The air pressure dropped instantly, shattering several glass windows along the main corridor. Students fled in panic as a massive demonic portal began ripping open directly in the school courtyard. Park stepped forward onto the courtyard asphalt, her divine white aura flaring up to push back the encroaching shadows. A grotesque, low-ranking demon emerged from the portal, roaring fiercely as it targeted the vulnerable students. Knowing he couldn't hide any longer, Jay took a deep breath and stepped out into the open battlefield. The green aura dormant inside him finally erupted, sending a shockwave that cracked the concrete beneath his feet. With a singular, lightning-fast motion, he closed the distance and drove his fist directly into the monster's chest. The beast disintegrated into harmless ash, leaving the entire area dead silent. Park looked at him with an expression of profound shock, realizing his power far exceeded that of a normal hybrid. Jay lowered his head, feeling the immense weight of a destiny he had never asked to inherit. Deep within the clouds above, glowing eyes of golden celestial judges watched the entire event unfold. A booming voice echoed through his mind, declaring that a dangerous anomaly had awakened on the mortal plane. Park stepped in front of him, raising her glowing hands to shield his mind from the divine telepathic pressure. She warned him that the upper heavens would soon dispatch their elite executioners to eliminate him. Jay looked up at the stormy heavens, his eyes flashing with a dangerous blend of green and dark energy as he accepted the challenge. The crackling green and dark electricity faded from Jay's fingertips as the storm clouds above slowly parted. He collapsed to his knees on the wet asphalt, gasping heavily from the sheer exhaustion of the sudden power surge. The lingering scent of ozone filled the chilly evening air as he stared intently at his trembling palms. Heavy footsteps echoed from the entrance of the dark alleyway, shattering the momentary silence of the night. A group of local street thugs emerged from the shadows, wielding heavy metal pipes and wooden baseball bats. The lead thug sneered unpleasantly, pointing his weapon directly at Jay's defenseless form. Jay tried to stand up, but his drained muscles completely failed him, leaving him pinned to the cold ground. The criminals closed the distance rapidly, encircling the vulnerable teenager with malicious intent. He closed his eyes tightly, bracing himself for the impending impact of the raised metal bar. A sudden, blinding flash of pure golden light erupted from the heavens, illuminating the entire alleyway. The thugs stumbled backward in sheer confusion, shielding their eyes from the overwhelming celestial radiance. Within the center of the glow, a handsome young man with shimmering white wings descended gracefully to the earth. Park adjusted his immaculate white blazer, his piercing blue eyes locking onto the startled criminals. The thugs lunged forward blindly, screaming in rage as they attempted to strike the celestial intruder. With an effortless wave of his hand, Park unleashed a shockwave of holy energy that sent them flying backward. The attackers crashed heavily against the brick walls, dropping their weapons before fleeing into the darkness. Park slowly turned around, his massive wings instantly folding and vanishing into thin air. Jay stared up at his savior in absolute disbelief, his mind racing to comprehend what he had witnessed. Park extended a gloved hand toward the bewildered teenager, offering a polite but distant smile. He whispered that they would meet again very soon, before walking out into the misty night. The next morning arrived with bright sunshine, casting a deceptive sense of normalcy over the city. Jay walked through the bustling hallways of his high school, trying desperately to shake off the previous night's events. He sat at his classroom desk, staring blankly out the window as the morning bell rang loudly. The homeroom teacher entered the room briskly, clapping her hands to gather the students' attention. She announced that a new transfer student would be joining their class starting today. The door slid open, and Park walked inside, wearing the standard school uniform with effortless elegance. Jay's eyes widened in absolute shock as he recognized the mysterious angel from the alley. The female students immediately began to whisper among themselves, captivated by Park's flawless appearance. Park introduced himself gracefully, bowing slightly to the class with perfect etiquette. His gaze swept across the room before locking onto Jay with an intense, unreadable look. The teacher assigned Park to the empty seat directly behind Jay's desk. Park walked down the aisle, his footsteps sounding incredibly heavy to Jay's hypersensitive ears. Jay kept his eyes glued to his textbook, feeling an intense pressure radiating from behind him. As Park sat down, he leaned forward and whispered softly that Jay's unique bloodline was highly coveted. Throughout the entire day, Jay could feel the guardian angel's calculating eyes monitoring his every move. Dark secrets seemed to hide behind Park's polite demeanor, suggesting alternative motives for his celestial assignment. When the final school bell rang, the atmosphere in the classroom grew noticeably heavier. Park approached Jay's desk once more, his expression completely devoid of his previous warmth. He warned that the dark forces of the underworld had already detected the awakening of the celestial demonic hybrid. Suddenly, the glass windows of the classroom shattered inward, throwing the room into complete chaos. A terrifying demonic shadow materialized from the swirling vortex of broken glass, glaring hungrily at Jay. Jay backed away slowly as the demonic shadow stretched across the classroom floor. The glass shards beneath his sneakers crunched loudly in the suffocating silence. From the center of the vortex, a tall silhouette with curving horns stepped forward. Teacher Park lay unconscious nearby, his golden wings clipped and bleeding. The demon introduced himself as Arn, flashing a mouthful of razor-sharp teeth. Outside the windows, a massive fleet of golden celestial chariots descended from the clouds. Jay realized that both heaven and hell were converging on his location at once. Arn extended a pale, clawed hand toward the trembling teenager. The demon pointed out that the angels would execute Jay rather than save him. Jay glanced back at his classmates who were trapped in a magical stasis barrier. The approaching celestial army began to chant an incantation that shook the school walls. Arn offered a contract that would grant Jay temporary access to underworld magic. Jay asked what the dark entity wanted in return for this ultimate power. Arn hissed that he merely wished to witness the fall of the Celestial High Council. A brilliant beam of holy light suddenly pierced through the concrete ceiling. Jay covered his eyes as dust and concrete chunks rained down around him. A high-ranking archangel with 6 wings floated down into the center of the debris. The archangel declared that the hybrid abomination must be purged immediately. Realizing he had no other choice to survive, Jay turned his gaze back to Arn. Jay demanded the contract be sealed before the holy blade could strike. Arn laughed maniacally as he grabbed Jay's hand to bind their souls together. Black veins erupted across Jay's arm as the underworld magic forced its way inside him. The archangel swung his massive sword down in a desperate bid to stop the transformation. An explosion of dark energy blocked the holy blade just inches from Jay's head. Jay opened his eyes, which had transformed into an intense, glowing crimson color. A dark aura combined with his innate celestial green energy, creating an ominous vortex. With a simple flick of his wrist, Jay sent the archangel flying backward through the wall. Arn cheered from the sidelines, thoroughly enjoying the chaotic display of hybrid power. More celestial knights poured through the ceiling crater to reinforce their fallen leader. Jay raised both hands, conjuring a pair of obsidian blades infused with dark flames. He moved like lightning, clashing with the golden knights in a blur of speed. Golden spears shattered upon contact with his newly acquired underworld shield. Despite his immense power, Jay felt a sharp burning agony in his chest. The demonic magic was taking a heavy toll on his fragile human body. The six-winged archangel rose from the rubble, his golden armor heavily dented. The archangel began charging a massive ball of solar energy to obliterate the entire city block. Jay knew he had to finish this fight before his body collapsed entirely from the strain. He focused all of his celestial and demonic energies into a single, massive point. With a mighty roar, Jay launched himself directly into the blinding solar sphere. Suddenly, the entire sky cracked open like glass, revealing a massive blood-red eye peering down from the cosmos. The massive crimson eye in the cracked heavens blinked once, sending a shockwave across the trembling surface of the earth. Jay clutched his chest as the demonic contract with Arn burned like liquid fire through his newly awakened veins. Beside him, the guardian angel Park fell to his knees as his golden aura began to flicker and dim. A single pillar of black fire erupted from the center of the crossroad, completely erasing the surrounding buildings. From the depths of the dark inferno emerged a figure wearing a tattered obsidian robe and bearing 12 midnight black wings. Lucifer raised his pale face, revealing eyes that held the cold, empty void of a dead universe. High above, the clouds parted to reveal an armada of celestial archangels descending with shining silver spears. Lucifer merely smiled as he extended a single slender finger toward the oncoming heavenly host. With a simple flick of his wrist, gravity reversed, slamming the vanguard of angels brutally into the asphalt below. The celestial commander materialized in mid-air, wielding the legendary sun-forged broadsword that had banished demons for millennia. The commander dove straight downward, aiming a world-splitting strike directly at the fallen archangel's uncovered head. Lucifer did not bother to move away from the path of the incoming divine weapon. Instead, he caught the massive glowing blade between his bare palms without sustaining a single scratch. A low, mocking chuckle resonated from Lucifer's throat, echoing through the minds of everyone present. With a light squeeze, the legendary sun-forged broadsword shattered into millions of useless dark glass shards. The celestial commander gasped in pure disbelief before being swatted away like an insignificant insect. Jay realized that neither the absolute light of heaven nor the pure dark of hell could stop this monster alone. He forced himself to stand, ignoring the immense pain stretching across his fragile human skin. Lucifer turned his attention away from the fallen angels, his dark gaze locking directly onto Jay. The fallen archangel tilted his head, recognizing the unique forbidden cocktail of blood inside the boy. Lucifer walked slowly toward Jay, each step melting the concrete beneath his heavy boots. Park yelled out a desperate warning, trying to drag his broken body forward to shield his student. Jay held up a single hand, signaling for the guardian angel to stay back and save his remaining strength. Deep within Jay's consciousness, the ancient celestial lineage and the demonic pact of Arn finally merged into a singular entity. A massive aura of jade-green cosmic energy erupted from Jay's body, instantly repelling the oppressive gravity in the area. Lucifer paused in his tracks, his eyes widening slightly as he witnessed the birth of a true celestial hybrid. Jay conjured a brand new weapon from his combined willpower, a dual-bladed staff forged of pure green starlight and underworld steel. With blinding speed, Jay vanished from his position and reappeared directly above the fallen lord of the underworld. Their weapons clashed with a sound like thunder, creating a shockwave that blew away the remaining clouds in the atmosphere. Lucifer unleashed a barrage of black void spikes from his wings, trying to impale the persistent teenager. Jay spun his hybrid staff with master precision, deflecting every single black spike into the surrounding empty buildings. Seeing an opening, Jay channeled all his remaining celestial and demonic power into the tip of his green blade. The strike pierced clean through Lucifer's core, forcing the dark entity to let out an agonizing screech that shook the heavens. Lucifer's 12 wings dissolved into harmless black ash, blowing away into the recovering wind. The massive crimson eye in the cosmos closed slowly, sealing the portal to the underworld once and for all. Jay descended gently back to the earth, his hybrid weapon dissolving back into the safe confines of his soul. Park walked over slowly, placing a proud hand on the young hybrid's shoulder with newfound respect. The surviving celestial forces bowed deeply to Jay, recognizing him as the ultimate arbiter of balance between worlds. Jay looked up at the pristine blue sky, finally understanding the true purpose of his extraordinary gifts. With the eternal war finally over, the one-in-a-million genius turned around to walk back toward a peaceful tomorrow.